This webinar is will talk about this lack of proportion and related issues and concerns, and so the strategies to tackle them. We will talk about that in our webinar. We'll talk about leaders the most of the time because we believe that their role in Pakistan civil society organizations, the leaders have all, if they are provided with skills and related information, so that whatever issues associated with lack of proportion and the resulting issues, they could tackle with them. These are the leaders who, through their role, become a good example and how they can the safeguarding practices can be implemented in an organization. They can create an example where in an organization every member and his dignity is taken care of, which is very important. In today's session, our panelists are in a Pakistani background. Societal leadership will be taken care of by them, and keeping in view that how we can have a balance of power. Our panelist will speak about the leadership role, and they will suggest and provide solutions for them, and as to how, in our local context, in a civil society, we can create a safe environment. Our panelists will also talk about the resources and powers that they have and how do they use them, and they can implement safeguarding in their organization. Furthermore, our panelists will offer insight on how the leadership, leveraging their power and privilege, can significantly contribute to the mainstreaming of safeguarding practices within their organization. And in this webinar, there will be a question answer session, and you will be given opportunity to ask the question. On this issue, we have invited two speakers. Let me introduce them. Our first speaker is Mr. Kadir Baig. He is a very senior development management professional who has 30 years of experience, and for the last 6 years, he has been associated with NGO at a resource center and CEO principal consultant, in addition to CL program advisor for Youth Engagement Program Pakistan, deworming initiative with IID Pakistan. He holds a master's degree in NGOs from London School of Economics, UK. He will be presenting and focusing on leadership approaches and using those approaches, the power and privilege can be used for promoting diversity and inclusion to create safer organizations, and they can make their organization safer for workforce. The second panelist with us is Mrs. Mazarin, who is a safeguarding focal person at Oxfam. She is a gender and development professional and working as project manager. The project's name is Women's Voice and Leadership Program, run by Oxfam in Pakistan. As I mentioned, she is her responsibilities include to facilitate Oxfam staff and partners to execute their commitment for safeguarding while at work. She will present as to how the leaders or all of us can, in our organization, at our workplace, can create a safe culture with regard to safeguarding. This was regarding our panelists. Some other things that also I would like to say before we start and go to our panelists. Some of the things that I would like to explain with regard to housekeeping. First of all, we will remain on mute, and our videos will remain closed, especially those who are attending. Their mics and videos will remain off so that we can have a better internet and connectivity quality. This webinar will be recorded and it will be uploaded on our website. Names will not be shared of the participants. This recording, because webinar will be available both in English and Urdu, recordings will be available in both the languages as well. Webinar is available in both the languages. We will be speaking in Urdu, but if you wish to listen to English to change the setting, you will see the setting bar and Zoom app. You can select the language and to ensure that the original audio should be muted. Other than that, you will see closed captions. You can select them from the control panel if you want to look at the closed captions. In addition to that, we would like to share with you that because in this webinar, we will be talking about safeguarding. Some things could be sensitive to some people, which you should know about. And as I mentioned that we are going to have a question answer session. If you wish to ask a question, you can write your name and your organization's name to ask the question, and our panelist will be sharing the resources if they wish to share in the relevant windows. You can go to the Q&A function and put your questions over there. You can see the Q&A section in your control panel. You can give in a new question, and if you can, and you can upload the earlier of the question if that the question your query is related to that. If you want, we can provide you answer with our panelist, and we can also answer the questions if the questions are related to each other in one go. In this presentation, we will also share our email if you want to have any follow-up questions which are not responded to during this session, then we can later on reply to them. In the end of this webinar, we were going to share a poll and will be requesting you to, after becoming part of the webinar, how do you feel about that? And we would like to complete the poll. It would be for a few just a few minutes activity, and I would also like now I will go towards our first speaker and invite him to start his presentation. Over to you, Kadir Beg sir. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I hope all of you are doing well. We pass through a different experience on daily basis, and we will try to understand the concept of safeguarding with each other. Thank you very much, Khalda, for this opportunity. As you mentioned in your introduction, that I have been working for the last 30 years with the civil society, and I would say that I have grown with the civil society, and I have seen civil society grow up, and by the grace of Almighty, we were saying that our civil society is growing with a healthy growth. And we talk about civil society and leadership. It is very important that when new concepts are brought in by the civil society and they're being introduced, then we should talk about that. I deeply appreciate, and I'm grateful to you that you started the talk on safeguarding. We have been hearing about that. And when I started listening and reading about it, then I came to know that it's a very important issue which requires our attention. I am grateful to you, and I am thankful to your organization that for Pakistani organizations, they that you are holding this webinar. I will be with you for 8 to 10 minutes. I will talk about the leadership responsibility. What is the responsibility with respect to safeguarding and the culture and that we call some of the organizations are same and what are important things which we call them a good and clean organizations. And we will also talk about safeguarding to create a safeguarding culture. What is the role of the leadership? I will try to cover up many things in short time, and we will also like to share our responses to your questions. We move on to first slide now. When we talk about the leadership responsibility, then whenever you talk about some organization, when we look at the organization in a triangle, wherein at the top is the leadership, and then this leadership creates the culture, and we create a safe culture and move forward. And that culture creates a system, and through that system, we manage our human resource and we manage our resources and programs. The leadership and culture would be the central point of my speech with regard to safeguarding. When we talk about the role of leadership, which is very important to promote safeguarding culture, then all of you would see in your organization. Then when you get a participatory leadership and you work with each other, then they take along their organization with them, and organization creates such resources where everybody feels the equality and equitability, and everybody is focused on that. Similarly, leadership plays a very pivotal role, that they take care of the members and the managers and the workers, and and their respect and dignity is taken care of. A country like Pakistan, where economic situation is we're having a unstable political and economic and security concerns are also before us, then the safety, respect, and the dignity play a very important role. And in such organization where leaders are good and they can see a clear vision with safeguarding and in a clear way. When leaders take decisions, and their decisions and steps out of activities they take, they affect the whole culture of their organization. Let me give you an example. In the last organization where I used to work, when you used to come to the office in the morning, we would go to our rooms. When I joined the office, then I started a culture that whosoever comes to the office will greet each and everybody in the office. When I used to go to the office at 10 past 9, then I would go to everybody and greet them. Everybody used to greet each other, and the responsibility would be created that if you are late, what are the reasons? And everybody would be aware of your issues and problems. Similarly, a culture of greetings was initiated, and whenever I go back to those, whenever I go, I promote such a culture, and people feel care, and we become fellows, or rather friends with each other. So leaders' behavior do matter a lot. Let's move, Shaisab, let's move next slide, please. And moving on, when we the leadership create a culture, and culture is very important. What is a culture? This is a difficult thing. When we respect each other and support each other and help each other in difficult times, it creates a team, and team building takes place when everybody is working with each other in a cohesive and coordinated manner. And it is there are various steps in every organization. There are manager and support staff, and there are lower staff, and there are some people who are not that much educated, and they have little experience. Women are working with us, minorities are working with us. everybody has his or her own vulnerability. So it is important that all the stakeholders working in our organizations, they should be safeguarded, and especially the people who are less privileged and feel that organization does not look after them. We should move forward along with them. Similarly, it is the moral and ethical responsibility of the organization when you run an organization that the people and their name should be safeguarded by you by all the stakeholders, and the organization's culture should be such and that it should not harm anybody. Nobody should be abused, and nobody should be pressurized unduly. Nobody should be exploited. These are important things for leadership's legal ethical responsibility. For example, if we take a name in this hospital, then we come to know they provide free medicine to people and treatment. And similarly, their ambulances this name organization, their ambulances come to mind instantly that they would come and help you out. So this is how our reputation carries along. That when we have a culture and when we have supportive culture and the people working for them, we should carry along everybody, and we should have a good and supportive cultural relationship with each other. Similarly, the importance of safeguarding culture, we have to speak of leadership is actually the harbinger of change for organization. They have to, first of all, they have to prioritize, and they need to decide which things are important to be implemented. We have an organization in the previous experience that, keeping in view of the issues of terrorism in country and keeping in view in that context, we had said that nobody would travel without safety and security. And the objective was that how to keep the people safe and how to provide them a safe environment to work. When people have the privilege and authority take decisions in their organizations, and they decide how to create an environment to work within the given limits, and the process of participatory decision making should be started. And there is also a challenge that when you create a culture of accountability and how you inculcate in them that to move forward with aims and objectives of the organization, and if everybody has inculcated and these cultures and these responsibilities, then everyone goes along with the development of organization. And then I would like to say that how leadership affects keeping in view those who create such a culture and have participatory leadership and learn from each other, and the soft guiding principles are implemented and carried along. And in addition to that, there's certain perception of the organization when we go into the communities and meetings and with the other organization, wherever we go, we are actually ambassador of our organization. And if we leave a message over there or impression, and which shows our culture of organization as actually it identifies our organization, and we and those organizations work with us, whether it is governmental or non-governmental, we should take along with them with our safeguarding leadership role. I would like to conclude here that to create a culture and implement a culture, leadership plays a very important role, and we should try our best that everybody in the organization should feel safe and successful. When both these things get along, then that organization is successful. and everybody needs to work to take along and progress their organization, keeping in view the safety and security for all the stakeholders from top to bottom, and that ultimately leads to a successful organization. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kadir Beg. You have very well defined your topic. I go to our second speaker. Over to you, Uzma Zareen. Thank you, Kanda. Thank you for making us connecting with this. Uh, I see so many names in the chat box. Many of the people I know. So first of all, I am happy that we are connected with each other today on this topic. My particular session is regarding safeguarding. I'm not sure. My picture is not visible, although my camera is on. Let's move on to first slide. I was looking at many of my films, uh, like gender safeguarding and procedure authority. All these words are available. That's a simple question on my first slide. If you could move on to next slide, safeguarding. When we call say safeguarding, then the picture comes to our mind, and the questions come to our mind that what constitutes safeguarding, which is an open question. You can reply in the tips. And what do you think about safeguarding? What does it constitute? My second, you can write in the chat box. Okay, fine. You're absolutely right. Some people think that it is related to accountability. Similarly, some are talking about protection. They're talking about self care and safety. It means the majority of the people are using two, three words. Let's move on to next slide, which is going to explain what is safeguarding. Safeguarding, as the name implies, is clear, safe, and guarding. It is a combination of two terms, safe and safety. And to make something safe, it means that the organization that we work in and working as paid staff or their volunteers who work with us or they provide services or stakeholders and the programs that we are running, and through those the programs we have an outreach to community. All these people that are ensured that they are safe and they are not harmed in any way. So it means safety in that context. Guarding means the organization where we are working, the policies therein, and the steps and the mechanisms and the practices adopted over there, how they ensure that the people working in those organizations and the stakeholders who are responsible to take their cause, whether volunteers, vendors, or service providers, or the communities that we reach, the men, women, and the youth, all these people, uh, and how we can ensure them that the organization is following a set of policies which is guiding them. So our staff and all the people who come into contact with us, we assure them, provide guarantee that we have a set of policies, we have good culture, and come and join hands with us. And let's move forward with this objective and cause of our organization so that none of us, without harming each other or anybody, we combine these two words, safeguarding term can be understood. Let's move on to the next slide. When we put it into a definition, what the definition tells us. If we look at the definition, it is a very standard definition, and that says that safeguarding refers to the measures organizations. The organization means this webinar focuses centrally on the leadership in an organization, on the people of power who are leading those organizations. They should ensure taking such steps that people are safe from sexual exploitation and abuse or sexual harassment or any other form of harm. The definition also tells us that all these steps which are mentioned those steps ensure address that the people working in the organization will not harm and will not be harmed in any way. And we use a term zero tolerance, that the organization, that leadership is promoting such a culture through which they implement and they say that they portray that such behaviors are not tolerable. There is zero tolerance with regard to that, and everybody has the same and clear stance. And we say that we have this, like we have a belief in humanitarianism, and the organization in that context internalizes such a culture wherein they can say that everybody, whether irrespective of their gender, working in that organization, some of the things are, some of the behaviors are intolerable. There is no zero tolerance for that, and there are such conducts are unacceptable in any manner. So let's move forward to the next slide, and where we would see that why we want to have such a culture in an organization. Why do we feel the importance of this raising such a culture? The place of work our culture and our behavior actually show the culture where we work. These are actually our behaviors are actually ambassadors of our culture, and they ensure that we are working in a culture and an environment that our behavior and our dealings with each other is very important. And without promoting such a culture of tolerance, we cannot move forward. Therefore, there is a dire desire to have such a culture, which is very important. And there are two most important things in that. We need to understand that what should what I think that I can do, that somebody should not be harmed by me. They should all remain safe from my behavior. And everybody, and we always try to say that in safeguarding, we need to understand the approach that the responsibility most of the times lies on us. I am a man, I'm a man, I am a leader, I am on some powerful designation. I have to I have to adopt such manners and such behaviors, so that my colleagues, my workers, and the people that come into contact with me are safe. It means that I need to look upon myself because I am accountable to myself first, then I am accountable to my organization. Next slide, please. Tells us that the culture that we want to create, or we want the leader to use their power and privilege with accountability. Well, we know that every designation enjoys some power, and there are certain privileges that they enjoy, and we can take advantage of those privileges. And if I look into it in negative terms, then I can use my power and privilege both positively and negatively. For example, if you are a worker and there is an emergency and there is a flood or emergency, and you know that a lot of aid is passing through your hands to other people, some blankets, medicine, etc., and you think that you can benefit people. It means that you enjoy power if you are not guarding yourself, and then you can become a victim of that power as well. So we need to be to ensure that I myself feel accountable for my actions in our culture, which are the things that in our culture that can help us out, especially leaders who are looking at their organization from a vantage point. So in that working environment, the principles of the work and procedures, they should just not remain on paper or to policy. Rather, they should be implemented and seen in practical shape in through your words, through your actions, and through showing some concern. The second reason is that safeguarding should not be limited to some trainings, a few trainings in a year. You need to implement into your daily life and daily work. It should be part of every meeting until such time they discuss it in their workshops and they do not set the protocols. They should not until they remind it often, then it cannot become practical in any organization. And then those codes of conduct that we should use some such words in such a manner and acting in a certain manner, they should be implemented to make them a practice in real terms. Then the scenario-based talks should take place, which should be part of every meetings. There are some retreats for that should be part of that, and they should be part of inductions and trainings. So one-time induction is not a solution. Then the safe culture. There are many other things. For example, leaders will have to see that the management structure that is being created, how much that is gender sensitive, inclusion, fairness, and all such things are included or not. Whether there is a balanced induction of men and women, and the diversified people coming from various cultures within the country, and they have different kind of skill sets and with having different traits. Whether all these things have been kept in mind, or we have included only 2-3 people in decision making. That this is your making decision making and management body. If you have inclusive management structure, till such time you will not go to inclusive decision making. Don't rather than closing safeguarding into a box, we need to create and implement an inclusive culture, so much so to the extent of decision making. Similarly, we need also to create a culture that we have where we could give an open and constructive feedback. Safeguarding does not mean that we should always be on the edge to report or to look out for certain incidents. Rather, we have to create and implement a culture where the stakeholders could provide a constructive feedback. A person who does not understand the culture sensitivities of an organization and working in just a closed personal environment, our culture should be such that we should be able to talk to each other and give feedback. And all the colleagues and vendors or service providers, we should be able to understand the diversity in their habits and their cultural backgrounds and sensitivities. If uh, they have a certain kind of behavior, then we should be able to provide a creative and constructive feedback. Whatever sort of, no matter how much reporting do you carry out, if you do not have a constructive and innovative, creative feedback mechanism, you cannot change the environment of your workplace. Similarly, gender sensitive language, we frequently use this term, but gender sensitive language, what is that? How we should make our own working definitions for each and every organization, what is unacceptable for each and everybody to say to each other. Generally, as a nation, as Pakistanis, as Muslims, we know that such words and such terms are not appropriate to say to the other people when a set of people come together and they they should define the sensitivities themselves, what kind of behavior, what kind of words are acceptable and unacceptable to each other. So we should be careful in communicating. Sometimes leaders, sometimes and their leadership and management style become used to such work because sometimes they don't, often they don't get the feedback. So they go on with those terms and behavior and style. Because there is a power and privilege associated with management. So there is certain fear and the lower cadre that they cannot, for the sake of losing, for the sake of their jobs, cannot give a positive and constructive feedback to their seniors. So it should be very openly discussed in a very conducive manner. Till such time, we will not be able to implement these all these things that we have been talking about. There's one more slide. There are 6 domains presented before you in any organization. We just need to understand that if there is an organization divided into 6 parts, then the safeguarding, which is at number 6, if we can just have a box written safeguarding on that, that is not going to work. I mean to say that you just cannot just talk out some framework and just leave it at that and does not talk about, then it does not matter what you do. So the onus is actually on the leadership, and it is going to it is, if it is not accepted by the leadership and the change of behavior and the sensitivities, especially gender sensitivities that are not taken care of, which is a huge domain, then it is not going to work in an integrated way. It is not going to happen if you're just focusing on one domain. We need gender just policies, we need sustainability or plans. Then when it's chalked out, then we need to think that or safeguarding plans as well. Safeguarding actually a domain of the organization, not just one person or gender. If the organization has to sustain, then in its sustainability strategy, we need to take such decisions. Similarly, and in the strategic relationship building domain, we carry out this with very great interest in all the, if keeping in view safeguarding. If we have such a partnership, which is a responsive and responsible partnership, which should educate each other in that framework of mind with regard to safeguarding, then we can move forward. All these things are interconnected. Safeguarding should not be left at it that it is not just a depth, it is not associated with just one individual. It is included and inclusive in every aspect of your organization. And leadership is actually responsible to include safeguarding in every aspect of decision making and to create a safe culture in the organization. What is the use of all this? Why are we doing it? Let's look at the last slide. Why we are doing it? Because there are so many benefits. I would like to draw your attention only on four. One is that to ensure that by ensuring that we will have a good enhanced reputation, an organization gains trust and credibility, and communities and donors feel safe, and the staff they they work with high morals and they work with interest because they believe that we are safe, and there are some certain policies of our organization that if something happens to us, they are going to safeguard us. Similarly, the communities who are associated with us through our programs, they are they feel themselves empowered that not only their voice will be heard, but their rights will also be respected. Similarly, so such culture, such policies are socialized our society and our teams, which are a great asset. They feel safe in gaining the trust. The last thing, why do we need that in our organization? Because organizational commitment with regard to safeguarding, then the risk of harm, we save ourselves from that. It means that we we want to prove that by advancing such culture that we are preempting any risk before it takes a particular shape. We are stopping it beforehand. So we have created a culture which has some values, and we stick to those values, and some things are non-negotiable for us. That's all from my side. Thank you very much for listening. We are ready for all your questions. Thank you very much, Uzma. You spoke at length, covering all the aspects. Now we move on to question answer session. My first question that we have shared with Kadir Beksab. If Kadir Beksab, if you could mention the question, and if you could if you like to respond to that, please. Also, would like all the participants to write their questions to chat box. Please write down detailed questions so that the panelists will understand them, and give some time to the panelists to understand and reply to you in detail. We were talking about accountability and leadership. You are talking about this question, please. Yes, there's one question that leaders themselves are leading the organization and they are powerful. And whenever any issue with regard to safeguarding, they go to the leaders. But how the leaders be made accountable? Thank you very much. I was also thinking about that. When we talk about the organization, if you look at the hierarchy of the organization, there's a goal, there's a board, and there's a management, and it has its team. The first accountability is to its management team, that the managers in the organization, and there is a culture that they sit together weekly or monthly, and there are town halls and open house meetings are there. There are many other ways through which you can raise questions and ask for replies, and you can give suggestions as well. Additionally, the board is also looking at the organization and looking at the organization policies, how much and how they are implemented. and they have got the quarterly and 6 monthly meetings. Then organizations have a structure where managers are in the middle, and accountability is carried out through them. Uh, I would like to focus on two things: that we talk about leaders and we talk about leadership as well. Uh, Leader means that he is responsible for all the decision. It is not. It should not be like that. This, the various managers are leading their leadership to their teams, and the managers at admin and HR and their leadership and manager, which like executive directors and CEOs or program managers, etc. Basically, what we need to understand that when you talk about safeguarding, you're not talking about safeguarding only. You will have to safeguard your leader as well, and the principle that we have set that to respect each other and looking at the ethical and legal values, keeping in view that we raise questions, get the responses. Generally, it is said that, as I have seen in the organizational culture, if you have to, if you have to praise somebody, then you have to praise openly, and you have to complain, and you have to complain in person. But the culture is actually the opposite. We praise in person and rather and complain in public. So the accountability takes place by discussing each other, by being open. It goes like that. Thank you, Farida. Thank you very much, Kalisa. It was a challenging question, and and you responded very interestingly. My second question is, what is the difference between protection and safeguarding? A question from our participant. I would request Uzma Zareen to please respond to that. Thank you, Khalda. This has been asked by Falknaz. What is the difference between both of them? Like regarding protection, we see an interplay, a great deal of both is what I would like to relate with the very first slide where we have used the word safe, where principles are laid down that do no harm, the somehow or the other. Let me give you an example. Somebody is coming to participate in an activity. They should reach us, and we should ensure that if women are coming to us, they are coming from such and such distance, then whether the way to our organization is safe. So the venue that we have selected, then it should be a safe place to reach, and there should be no risks involved. Then we should work for it beforehand. We have to create a distribution point where the communities should come, and they should get the things they require. For example, a flood relief, then I need to ensure that selection of that distribution point, that it should be safe for each and everybody. We are not talking about women and women. We are talking about each gender, every gender. Their participation, the disabilities should also be catered to. We need to keep each and everything into account, that our approach and mindset, when you practice that in the field, then we are not just sensitive to some one thing, we are also mindful of protection as well. Protection has two angles. One is a strong policy, rules, mechanism that are need to be installed, and the organization has to implement them. If some incident takes place, then the system should come into work immediately, which can responsibly respond in a very practical manner. Or for example, if in Pakistan, if some incident takes place, which the organization tackles by itself, but there is an element that you have to take help from other organization to cater to tackle the problem. So if a good reference system is available, we can get support on that organization as well. When we get into protection, then its scope increases. I think there is a question from Ghulam Nabi as well. I fully agree. I should have spoken earlier. I would cover that in diversity. Safeguardly, definitely. And when we talk about the person of disability, then the level of sensitivity and safeguarding increases. Whether the we are talking about two people or even one person or one woman with disability, we will have to see to it very differently, especially from their participation's point of view. There, we need to keep in view their accessibility. We also have to see to it, and I have seen the sensitivity of the people to the extent that in their training venues, people serving over there or carrying out the catering job, they see to it that if some women are working who are using wheelchair or who need support, they should not be exploited in some manner, and the attendants coming with them, they should be accommodated. And to accommodate such things in the policies of the organization, all these proactive measures needed for the organizational policies. Thank you very much. You responded quite clearly and in detail. There is also a question that is there any structure in Sindh which is working with regard to safeguarding? We would say that can we refer some forum that is PSC network, which are members of UN and that is UN PSC network in Sindh, and they look into such matters like safeguarding. We will take one more question. I will request Kansi Saab to respond. If you like to say something with regard to safeguarding culture, if you want to start it, if you could tell us quickly, how can some organization take initial step to work towards safeguarding? Thank you very much. I also saw another question. I can reply to that. Fatma Jafri has written, sometimes leaders are exploited by staff. And as a result of that, their organizations face challenges and rumors spread. See, the first of things, we are all human beings working in some organization. So as human beings, we are all equal. Responsibilities could be different, and keeping in view those responsibilities, and they feel such urge to exploit somebody. If there is a transparency in organization and accountability mechanism in place, such things are not difficult to handle, in my opinion. It is not that vulnerable to exploit them so easily. Take such time, they are making mistakes, and they carry out implications. So we are living in a social media age, so we need to respect each other. And the question regarding each other, especially with regard to backbiting culture, should be done away with, should end. Second thing, Khalda, please could you repeat? The question was that how can we have an inclusive approach with regard to safeguarding in our policies? Another question was that I would repeat, when we speak about safeguarding culture, how can we start? What could be the first step, very first step? If you could quickly respond. My experience of 30 years says that in good organizations, no such thing happens which does not promote safeguarding. But we, like in Pakistan, economic situation is leading to poverty, and as a result of that, insecurity and sensitivities are increasing. Mobility is coming down, and prices are going up. In our organizations, when we used to travel from one city to another city, then we used to get some vehicles, and now we are told that you go by public transport. If we go into that, then sense of insecurity starts increasing. It is important that organizations' policies and the policies they should be properly implemented with the contextually. People think that something is cooking up, but they cannot see, or something is being cooked up, and to make things better, so that they things are communicated to each other responsibly. Thank you very much. We are going towards the end of the webinar. This is the time that we had for today's discussion. I would like to request, and I'm grateful to, so first of all, I'm grateful to all of you that you have taken out time for us. I am thankful to panelists, Mr. Kadir Beg and Uzma Zareen, and all of you that you asked challenging questions. I will start a poll over here, and I will be grateful that if you could provide some feedback, and we would like to know what is your opinion with regard to today's webinar, and how in coming days we can make our products better and serviceable. Let me tell you as well that after some time, our recording of the webinar, the slides would be shared with all of you. And if you like that our coming webinars, you should get important information about the upcoming seminars, and then we will put in the link chat, and you can subscribe from it from over there to get further information. In addition to that, if you some the questions which are not responded to, then you can use our email address. We will show it on slide. My email address will also be shared. Then you can ask your questions which are somehow left to be responded. I urge you to please complete the poll, which is very beneficial to us as an organization. I'm once again grateful to you that you took out time and you remained with us. Thank you very much.